Hello again, everyone. This is Bionic Slime. I'm your online voice for reviews of your choice, and this is another installment of BS Reviews. Today, I will be reviewing my first movie that I've seen for the year 2010, and that is the vampire dark science fiction film known as Daybreakers. This film has actually been trying to be in production for a long time, and it's always been searching for a market, but it never really got its chance until now. The movie was actually finished in 2009, but it was released in 2010. Daybreakers is brought to you by Lionsgate Entertainment. It was directed and written by the two Spierig brothers, Michael Spierig and Peter Spierig. And it stars the likes of Ethan Hawke as Edward Dalton, Sam Neill as Charles Bromley, Claudia Karvan as Audrey Bennett, Michael Dorman as Frankie Dalton, Willem Dafoe as Lionel Elvis Cormack, and Isabel Lucas as Allison Bromley. The plot of Daybreakers. Daybreakers takes place in a futuristic dark world similar to like Matrix or Blade Runner in the year 2019, where a vampire outbreak has led to the near extinction of the human race and the dominance of the vampire race. Everything in the world has been converted and changed to please the vampires. Everything in the cities and the cars and the buildings are all converted to specify to the vampire's personal needs, like sun blocking roofs for like on the car windshields during the day, alarm to let you know when the sun's coming up. It's all changed to please the vampires. And the humans have been turned into a harvest food factory where their blood is sold through this one particular company, which is owned by Charles Bromley. Unfortunately, Edward Dalton discovers that there's a big problem brewing in the vampire community, and that is that the human beings are becoming extinct and they are running out of blood. So, in order to do that, Edward Dalton tries to create a fake blood alternative sample to feed the vampires. Unfortunately, nothing's working, and they fear that the vampire race will go extinct at the same time as the human beings do once the vampires run out of blood. In addition to this, the vampires have discovered that if a vampire stays deprived of blood for too long, they de-evolve into primordial bat-like monster creatures who kind of look like winged versions of the Descent monsters from the movie Descent. And so Edward Dalton seeks help from one of the last few remaining humans, led by Audrey Bennett and Lionel Elvis Cormack, who have discovered a cure for the vampirism, but need Edward Dalton's help to help cure the vampire disease. So now it's a race against time to see who gets a hold of Dalton first. The vampires to continue the fake blood supply, or the humans who hope to make him the savior of their race and turn all the vampires back into humans. Review the plot. Daybreakers really shines in the way that it brings us what we all have been talking about or wanting to see more of, and that is originality. People on the internet have continued to bitch, piss, and moan about how there's no more originality in Hollywood. Well, wait's over, and this movie is originality in pretty much its finest form. I mean, it brings a new and creative, specialized style way of storytelling with old vampire rules, but with a new twist. And to me, that's the best way to do it because you got such a really, really good, engaging storyline. It's original and fresh and unique. They put a lot of real time and thought into, but they do it with the same old vampire rules in play. Just like I said in my Twilight New Moon review, I was disappointed how vampires have been pussified into these creatures who don't even get weak from sunlight or holy water and that, and just changing all the rules that horror fans have grown up for years. Here they bring them all back and beautifully restored. We're talking everything bursting from flames from sunlight, no reflection in the mirrors, and using bats and everything. It really takes you back to the old vampire days and just brings everything back in full force. Stakes to the hearts, everything. And it's really nice because I was so happy to see the return of the traditional vampire format. And with this new storyline, the whole setup with this new future dark city where everything's just blotted out so the sun can't hurt them, and that the vampires have found a way to operate their normal lives in the day and in the night. And it's really inventive and cool to see a whole vampire society. It's so interesting to see how they interact, what they're doing with their new lives, how their food supply works. You got little blood coffee shops and stuff like that. It's really inventive, and I give them so much credit for creating this really unique storyline. I've never seen a vampire story this smart and this inventive before. Review the characters. I don't really know much about Ethan Hawke. I'm sure people have their own opinions about him. A lot of people have told me that he's terrible and he hasn't had a good movie in years, something like that. That really doesn't make a damn difference to me because, like I said, I don't know that much about him. from what I know in here, he was actually pretty good. He played a pretty compelling enough character who had a real interesting emotional drama, and I like the fact that he kind of played both sides. I mean, he showed the struggle between accepting being a vampire and hating it because he favored more humans. And Ethan Hawke, I mean, he just really got that, cross conflicted kind of character mood across, and I like that. And it's important for a character who is dealing with all this emotional shit. And Willem Dafoe was absolutely awesome as Elvis. I mean, you gotta love this guy. He creates these really iconic characters. He's like Bruce Campbell. It's like every role you see him in, you know he's gonna bring that same smart charm, and charisma, and just wittiness onto the screen, and he always does it so well, so beautifully, and so funny wise. Isabel Lucas, I was surprised to see her in this. For those of you who don't know her, she played the horny alien robot with a 6 foot long tongue that tried to make out with Shia LaBeouf in Transformers 2. She was actually very good in this. People have complained that she was pretty flat in Transformers 2. I didn't really agree with that, but either way, I was really impressed with her. She played a really interesting character here. Alison Bromley, the daughter of Sam Neill, who's Charles Bromley, who's the head of the whole vampire company. So you got some really interesting little conversations going on between those two. Sam Neill has been like out of the cinema eye for like a long ass time. I can't even remember the last time I really saw him. And he does good work. I like him as an actor. I think he has a very good set of acting skills, and he was interesting in here. He was pretty good. He was used more effectively than I thought he would be. I thought they were just kind of like push him out, but no, he was used pretty well here. Michael Dorman as Frankie, the brother of Edward Dalton, was good. I thought he could have been a little bit better. I don't think he was as talented as he could have been. I mean, he wasn't a bad actor, but he wasn't great. So it was just kind of like a middle bound thing with me for him. Review the cinematography and the music. Cinematography, music, both were excellent stuff. I was really grateful that this movie wasn't as dark and dingy as I thought it was going to be, like the movie Dark City. It's all very bleak, black colors, dark. It was kind of bleak and black, but they kept it more interesting and more visualized than I thought they would. I figured it was just to be too dark to really see anything in the movie, and I was grateful that they kept it so sharp and you didn't have to worry about the color scheme being really brighter than it actually was. So usually these movies have similar color schemes, all black and blue and pale white, like Underworld. I hate those movies. I hate the way they use colors in that. But here they kept a good enough balance. So it was one of the more interesting, darker films that I've seen. I loved the music. I thought it was so intense, so constantly moving, constantly going. It really kept with the beat of the movie, and it made the scene seem much more intense. There's this excellent car chase scene where Edward Dalton's in a car with the humans, and they're shooting at him, and lights pouring in, and they're still driving, trying to dodge the guys shooting at him and the light, and it was just really well done and really kept intense pace with the music. Um, Flaws about the film. For all this excellent story, the one thing that bothered me the most about Daybreakers is that very little has gone into the explanation of exactly how this whole vampire thing started. The movie's intro briefly kind of hints the fact that it was a vampire bat or some kind of bat that caused an outbreak plague, but they didn't really go into any more information than that. And it's kind of annoying because it would have just been easier to say that these vampires exist and they took over the world out of, sheer force. But instead you're saying it was this vampire bat or bats that caused the plague, and it doesn't really explain enough about that. And it's kind of sad when you put all this creativity in the story and then you don't bother to explain how the hell we got here in the first place. Another problem is the acting is adequate at best. These actors aren't bad, but they're not great. It's felt like that they could have put more into it. Like there could have been a little more of an effort. I mean, this is what I call sufficient acting. It's enough to tide you over, but it's not enough that wows you or anything. No real award nomination performances here. And it's unfortunate because had they beefed that up and maybe chose a little bit more expressive and emotive actors who gave off better performances, like Sam Neill, I mean, he's usually great, but here he was kind of average. Had they kind of went for the above average approach, this movie I think could have been far more greater than I think people even realized it could have been. Final wrap up, Daybreakers is an excellent vampire movie that has everything that an old movie monster fan and a new age film buff fan can enjoy. You get a great new original concept, inventive and creative and well brought out through the unique storytelling. You got a great set of design with the vampire monsters, the makeup and blood and gore effects are absolutely fantastic. Really good, intense music. The acting is okay. Like I said, it's sufficient. I wish they would have used Willem Dafoe's character because he's always a treat to enjoy. Same as Sam Neill. They're good actors, but they just gave average performances here. But overall, I'd say there's far more good in this movie than there is bad. Bottom line, I give Daybreakers 3.5 stars out of 5. Well, that's all for now. This has been Bionic Slime for BS Reviews. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye for now.